y dos, y dos, una, y dos, una, y dos.
Hello and welcome to Cortes NYC Livestream, the podcast. This show broadcasts twice a week out of New York City. We are your hosts, Cortes NYC
and Carla de Puerto Rico.
And on the show, we talk about art, creativity, city life from a Latino perspective. I'm a visual artist.
And I'm a singer.
And this is episode 59.
As always, you can find us on iTunes, Stitcher, Podbean, and Spotify, and also on social media on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Tumblr.
And don't forget my online store, cortesnyc.bigcartel.com. Log on, check out what I have on there. I have some artwork, some stickers, some posters, some graffiti pins, and some original pieces. So log on and support an artist. And let's get on with this. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Continuing the museum tour,
Yes.
because we have to.
This is fun.
I mean, it'd be funner if we were actually recording on site and actually visiting these places.
Yeah, that's true.
But we're working off of memory and we're working off of information that we're finding online. What we've been doing lately in these episodes is we've been giving you guys a tour of some of the museums, some of my favorite museums, or exhibits that I like to visit
Yeah.
habitually in New York. This one I haven't been to in a while, but last time that I went, I had a great time. It left a great impression on me, so I would definitely recommend it. This is the New York Transit Museum.
Yes.
It is a museum originally dedicated to the railway system, to the subway. But then it expanded, and we'll find out in a minute. I'll start reading some of the facts. But it started off specifically with trains, and then it expanded into buses and all types of transportation and
Public transportation.
yeah, and it got into everything.
And it's a very unique museum because you get to see different cars, train cars, right? From the 1920s, 1930s, and you were like traveling in time in New York, in the city, because obviously the museum is here, but you are like traveling in time with how were the cars before in that time. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah. All right, so let's start with some of the facts. This is off of their Wikipedia page. The New York Transit Museum, also called the NYC Transit Museum, is a museum that displays historical artifacts of the New York City subway, bus, and commuter rail systems in the greater New York City metropolitan region. The main museum is located in the decommissioned Court Street subway station in downtown Brooklyn and Brooklyn Heights in the New York City borough of Brooklyn. Duh. Brooklyn in Brooklyn.
Everything Brooklyn.
There is a smaller satellite museum annex in Grand Central Terminal in Midtown Manhattan, which we've been to. That's the museum annex. They have it. It's really like a store.
Yeah, and usually it's well decorated for Christmas. They always have like a Christmas theme with the train and everything else. That the train is running around the city and everything is well decorated. Yeah.
All right. So the location is just to restate this. The location is the former Court Street Station, 99 Schermerhorn Street. It's actually a subway station, an old subway station. So when you go to the address, you're going to look for a building. You're not going to find a building. What you're going to find is an entrance, and you go downstairs.
You have to go underground, yeah.
Into the subway station, and there's the museum.
Yeah.
Which is pretty fun, because that's already the beginning of the journey. The museum was established in 1976.
Wow.
42 years ago. I was 2. No, mentira, I was 4. I was 4 when this was established. So, I mean, I'm not going to get into the historic use as a train station. Obviously, it was a train station. I'm sure. I mean, fine, fuck it. Uh, the address is the Skirmerhorn Street train station, right? Let me see when it up. Okay, so the original train station opened 82 years ago.
Wow.
That's crazy.
That is crazy. Long time ago.
Yeah, 1936.
What?
Isn't that crazy?
That is crazy. And that even though now it's used as a museum, but it's still a space that is still open and running.
Yeah.
I mean, like many things in the city, and that's why the museum is so impressive. You wouldn't think that in the 1930s, 1920s, they were already subways.
Right.
And for you to go and see, well, this is why at this stage of time we have the internet and things are running so fast, because things were running fast back then. It's just that for us, seems like it was not that fast.
Yeah. So that's when the museum was, the station was originally open. I'll tell you right now some facts about the museum. Okay, so the exhibits and programs. So on July 1976, the New York City Transit exhibit was opened in the decommissioned underground station as part of the United States Bicentennial Celebration.
Wow.
So bicentennial is 200 years.
200 years.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So part of its celebration, they opened up this museum in 1976. They were charging a fee of 1 subway token for admittance, which is funny. Old subway cars, which had been preserved, as well as models and other exhibits, were displayed. Plans were to keep the museum open until September 7th of that year.
Oh.
But it proved to be so popular that it remained open and eventually became a permanent museum. That's interesting.
That's
a
nice.
lot of things are like that, where they don't have long-term goals.
Yeah.
They just think that they're going to do something like a pop-up or something like for an event, and then if it collects money and it starts getting attention, then
Yeah, if people are interested, and more that because this city is it's a big location for tourists.
Yeah.
And if people want to come and learn a little bit more about the history of the city, it's perfect to have that type of museum.
Yep. So on the weekends of its initial opening back in 1976, they were doing a museum nostalgia train run. So it would be like the old nostalgic trains would run between 57th Street and 6th Avenue and Rockaway Park, making intermittent hour-long stop at the exhibit. So they were running the train as a promotion.
Yeah.
Within the city. So in the 90s, in the mid-1990s, the MTA, the company, the MTA, they took over. They assumed control of the museum.
Oh.
So I guess before that, it wasn't the MTA's museum.
Right.
So in the 90s, it became the MTA's museum, and then they expanded it to make it bigger. So they say at that time, the scope of the museum was expanded to include other aspects of transportation services within the MTA region, including commuter rail, the Long Island Railroad, the buses, the roads, the tunnels, the bridges. So that's when they turned it into a transportation museum.
I see.
The museum includes subway, bus, railway, bridge, tunnel, memorabilia, and other exhibits including vintage signage and in-vehicle advertisements and models and dioramas of the subway, the bus, and other equipment. They have lectures, they have seminars, they have films. I think that's the stuff that, makes it kind of interesting, is how it's educational.
Yeah. It's educational, but not educational in a way like government museums can be, where they can be very boring because they just have like posters of information in the walls, and then maybe a photo or two, and you're walking and you have to stop and read. But it's educational also in a way that they have something to show you from that time, which makes it like more relatable.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's one of the impressions that I got that was like why I recommend it so much, especially for people from New York, but also if you're from a big city, is that and we forget about it because we don't realize it because it's so transparent. Like we're constantly doing it, but every single day we ride the subway.
Yeah.
It's part of our lives. We spend
Yeah.
probably as much time in a subway as we do some other places.
Yeah.
And we, I guess, take it for granted, the history of this thing that brings us back and forth every day. I think it's interesting to be educated on something that is part of your life that way.
Yeah.
Because how else would you even know anything about that?
Exactly.
I mean, it's not the same thing. I mean, some people would say, well, you know, you ride an elevator every day. Do you go to the elevator museum? But I think an elevator doesn't have that personal attachment that subways do.
No,
I don't
yeah.
know why subways have that. You get that
I
attachment
mean,
to subways.
in
It's
the
like,
subway you sleep. In the subway you listen
Yeah.
to music. In the subway you can read a book. In the subway you can be talking on the phone with your family.
yeah.
And there's, like you said, we spend so much time in the subway. Sometimes there's delays, and you don't want to be inside the subway car for 2 hours,
You're going crazy.
but you have to. So it becomes part of. It's an important part of your life because you cannot live without taking the subway.
Yeah, I mean, but also it's like I compare it to like I would imagine back a few centuries when everybody had to ride a horse,
Uh-huh.
and if you rode a horse every day, you would have to learn about the horse in order to maintain the horse and to respect the horse and to make sure that the horse lasts for you and that you can ride the horse safely and all that.
Right.
Like you would have a connection to your means of transportation.
Right.
You don't magically just show up somewhere.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think nowadays we have that connection in a way because we all know our train line and we kind of we identify with our train line because the minute I ride a different train that's not my train line, I'm like, that train is crazy.
Exactly.
Meanwhile, my train is probably just as crazy.
Exactly. Yeah.
But we have that identity as city dwellers of, you know, that's my train line. That's mine. You know what I mean? Like we all share it, but it's my train line. And so we still have that connection, but we don't have any knowledge
Yeah.
of that system, of that train, of the history, of any of that. So I think that's kind of interesting about this museum. To make a long story short, that's why it impressed me because I think it educated me, and I feel like if you've had that New York City experience or like I said, a big city experience of riding trains every day, the minute you see this museum, you're going to be like, wow, I didn't think about this. I didn't think about how this whole thing evolved. And these trains have like a history within themselves. They have a life of their own. They have personality. When you see the old trains, you realize the personality, right?
Yeah. It's almost like being inside somebody's home.
Yeah.
It's like, and now you are in the home of like I said, the 1930s or the 1960s even, and you are inside. It's almost like going to the Museum of Modern Art and seeing the furniture that they have for the 60s also. It has some kind of like connection there.
Right.
The design that they were using, the colors, the way that the windows were, everything else.
Yeah,
even the poles
the way the poles are, whether they were back in the day when they were straps, literally leather straps, and that's why they came with the term strap hanger, that you would hold on to. But whether it's the poles, the chairs, the little comforts, you know, whether they had lights or didn't have lights, whether they had fans or didn't have fans.
It was made out of wood or not.
Yeah, leather, cushion chairs versus wooden benches, and it all makes you think about the people that used it and what their mentality was.
Yeah.
And then you compare it, you know, the minute you get back into your own train, the exhibit continues, right? When you're riding back home. And you get back on your regular modern train and you're like, oh, wow, what are people going to say about this train in the future?
Exactly. Oh, look, they had like...
lights and...
exactly. And
a robot would talk to you.
Screen. Yeah.
And a robot talks and says, stand clear of the closing doors. Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. All right, so let me just continue a little bit more here with the facts, and then we'll talk a little more about our experience. But the museum's mezzanine upper level contains the majority of the exhibits, restrooms, water fountains, nobody cares about that, gift shops, blah, 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 blah. The exhibits on the upper level are changed from time to time. In addition, there is a small presentation screening room, which usually displays posters and videos for public education. Railway artifacts. On the platform lower level, so when you go downstairs, you kind of, to get into the museum, you pay an entrance like a token. It's like a token booth setup. Like
Yeah,
the
yeah.
old time. Because now we can say old time because now we use the machines, right? It's all credit cards and swiping. But they have an old, the token booth station, and then you buy it, pay your entrance in there, and then you can go further down. So you go down into the main entrance, and then you go further down, and that's where they have the actual trains parked, just like they do in a regular subway station. And so the preserved rail cars, most of which can still be operated, date as far back as the predecessor companies that came before the New York City Transit Authority, such as the BMT and the IRT. And I think that's another interesting fact. They tell you the story of how the organizations that run the subway
Yeah.
started off as small, separate private businesses that eventually sold each other out or bought each other out, and then ended up becoming one big entity. And it's interesting to know that.
Yeah.
And to think of how many other companies, whether now it's like, nowadays it would be on the internet. Like you would hear
Exactly.
like Instagram got bought by Facebook and whatever, and like, things like that, where you are surprised to hear that one company would buy the other and how it affects your interaction with that company. Where now Instagram, for example, has ads like crazy, but before it used to be ad free.
Yeah.
Or Tumblr. Now Tumblr is, censoring and all that.
Yeah,
and
Tumblr is porn free.
porn free because, they have probably other companies that are putting pressure on them. Maybe they want to clean up their act to be bought by somebody else.
Actually heard that it was because they found child pornography on Tumblr.
Oof.
So that's why they're trying to keep Tumblr clean.
somehow, yeah, try
Because
to-
they don't want to make it that way. Yeah.
But,
continuing with
yeah, we continue with we went
New York
off track,
Transit.
right? We went
New York
literally
Transit Museum.
off track. Get it? See what I did there? Off track. Get
yes.
it?
Now
you
we're getting back on track.
on track. You saw what I did there, right?
Yes.
So then they have rail cars that date so far back. The platform bordering one of the two tracks is equipped with hinged bright yellow gap filler boards to allow the narrow IRT rail cars to be safely boarded from a platform. That's another thing. The construction of the design of the train cars, once they became one big system, they had to take some of the train cars out of commission because they were designed differently. Wider or more narrow,
Yeah.
things like that. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Because there was no standardization. So that's another thing that it opens your eyes to how things became more standardized. Where now you can have accidentally a 6 train running on the 7 train, or you get on a train, you're like, wait, this looks like a F train. Why is it an F? It's
And you
on the
realize-
wrong system.
You realize by the way that they are built which train is which. Because, for example, I've noticed that 7 trains are less wider than 6 trains and even E trains. And it's because they go underground and they need they need to be bigger constructions,
I guess.
I guess.
So a few specialized rail work vehicles formerly used for maintenance are also on view. They have, what else do they have in there? They have a control room also. They have a fully functional underground signal tower control room on view. A facility that is used to monitor the IND Fulton Street line and IND Crosstown line when the subway station was in active revenue service. The track diagram, indicator lights, and control levers are fully operational and are still needed when the subway cars are on display. Other artifacts in the museum include a poster for the 1926 lost film Subway Sadie, as well as an original brass light fixture from the station's operating days. It also features an original mosaic plaque from the 137th Street station, dating back to 1904.
Wow, that's crazy.
The subway's opening. That's crazy.
That is crazy.
1904.
I told.
No, man. And then the Wikipedia goes into how they have the fleet of buses and they have all that kind of stuff on display. All the different buses from the different time periods. They have a fake bus that you can get into.
Ah, yeah.
Remember that? They have the front of the bus. And they talk to you about, they show you like the original bus that was an experimental bus, and it had rear exit doors. They have another bus that was the first one that had air conditioning. The new look bus that was in 1959. It had a new look to it. They have something called the fishbowl bus. So it's interesting because it shows you how over the years the company tried to reinvent what the public transportation could look like. And I think now we've gotten to a certain point where they don't really change the shape of them that much, a little bit, but not so much. It's now more the technology,
the inside.
They try to hook up the technology. Honestly, right now the biggest innovation that I saw personally was this whole thing with the
they have internet in
no, even letting you know when the train's coming. That was a huge innovation for me. Once they announced that was going to happen as an experiment, and then it became across the board on all the stations, I was like, wow, we're in the future. Because that's huge.
And now the new thing for buses is that they tell you which is the next stop in a clear way, because before it was the bus driver that will tell you, but it tells you like, and this is next stop. But now the bus actually has a robot,
announcement,
and it will
and
say
a sign, and a sign. All right, so just quickly, the current exhibitions at the place: Steel, Stone, and Backbone, building the New York subways. They talk about the challenges building the actual tunnels for the subway. I remember that. It was all like the black and white photos and all that, showing you the pickaxe and how they had to drill and everything by hand. Moving the Millions, chronicling the history of the subway system. Fare collection, the different tokens and the different ways that they collected the fares. And it's kind of interesting because especially now that we use the Metro cards, it's interesting to see the old coins and all that for people who've never experienced that. Clearing the Air discusses how they are trying to reduce their carbon footprint. The only thing that I'll point out, and I'm going to end this Wikipedia entry, the rest is just facts about the place and some pictures, but the only thing I'm going to point out is they didn't mention graffiti at all. They had one little blurb on a little poster somewhere, and it says like, in the 70s it became blah 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 blah, and there was a problem with graffiti and crime in the subway, and it's just like a little paragraph. And I'm like, wow, I can't believe they didn't have like a subway car at least dedicated to it or something. It's crazy. But all right, whatever. I think in general it's a good exhibit. For me, it was amazing to see that even the trains that I grew up with are now in a museum. It makes me feel really old. But I'm sure the trains that you're riding in now, that you're exposed to now, will one day be there.
Exactly. So it's good to keep checking it out. We will go soon again to see what they have in the new exhibit.
Yeah, the next visitor that comes to New York will take you.
Yeah.
Sepárame los tiempos. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
All right, culture talk, Carla.
Yes, culture talk.
Are you feeling cultural?
Yes, it's the holidays. You gotta feel cultural. You gotta feel as part of, the Latino theme and feel it in your blood and start dancing.
It's so spicy.
Feel the music.
It's so spicy, Carla.
Yo no soy un hot pepper para que me llame spicy. Yo soy una persona. Eso fue lo que dijo Angela Ray when she was in an interview.
Did you have that ready? Were you waiting? Did you have that saved? You had that saved?
Yeah, I was like, wait, spicy? This is what I have to say. Somebody's going to say me. Spicy? I got to say. I'm not a hot tamale. I'm not a hot sauce. I'm a person.
All right, so non-spicy Carla. Go ahead.
Well,
what are we talking about?
For this culture talk, I wanted to continue with the theme of holidays and Latino traditions and Latino everything. So I have different Latino dishes for the holidays.
Oh.
So we can talk about it. It's a mixture between savory and sweet. So there's some desserts and also some plates.
So
that
this is
we
food
use.
specifically for the holidays.
Specifically for the holidays, yeah.
And you said Latino. This is all cultures or specifically Puerto Rican?
No, I have some Puerto Rican, some Mexican, one Honduran,
You better have
Colombian.
I was about to say you better have a Colombian in there. Carla, don't come with me like
one
that.
Colombian because we gotta keep it real.
At least one, please.
At least one, gotta represent.
I'm gonna take a guess before you say it. When we get to that one, let me guess.
Okay.
But I have a feeling which one it's gonna be.
Okay. Well,
All right,
let's
so go
start.
ahead. Yeah, get it going, Carla. Come on now.
Well, the first one is obviously Puerto Rican and is the pasteles.
Oh, pasteles. I like
Yes.
pasteles.
Pasteles, they're delicious and they're not pasteles like cakes.
Ah, you see, I was thinking.
Seriously?
Every time you say pasteles, I'm thinking
No.
like sweet things.
It's not pasteles like
No,
torta.
you're talking about tamales.
And it's not this. Well, okay, there exactly. If you are more familiar with tamales, pasteles are basically a type of tamales.
Okay.
And it's made out of dough that can be yuca or corn, if I'm correct. You put some filling inside, which has some meat, red meat or pork, and then also you can put some chickpeas, and if you like olives, you put olives on it. Some people don't like olives, and that's a whole thing in Facebook and for Puerto Ricans.
Really?
Yes. You put that in the filling, but if you don't want, you can leave it out. And then you just cover them with parchment paper. There's a specific way to do them.
Yeah.
So maybe I'll post a video of how to make pasteles because it's a whole ritual and, steps to follow.
All right.
Then, when they're ready to make, what is done is you boil them in water for like an hour or so, and then when you serve them, you can put a little bit of ketchup on top of it. That's another thing that some people like, some people don't like. I actually like a little bit of ketchup on my pasteles, but yeah, those are pasteles, are traditional Puerto Rican foods, very special during the holidays.
Okay.
Then we have the Rosca de Reyes.
What is that?
Have you heard of that?
It sounds familiar, but I don't know.
Yeah, I'm sure you have heard of it. So, it's a sweet holiday bread, and it's shaped like a wreath and
wreath.
A wreath.
There you go.
Sorry,
It's all right.
a wreath, and decorated with candied figs, lemon, cherries, and mango. A little baby Jesus doll. This is when the fun starts.
I love my baby Jesus. I love my baby
Yes,
Jesus.
exactly. So you're gonna love the Rosca de Reyes.
Oh my goodness.
Because a little baby Jesus doll is baked.
Lives in there? Oh my God.
Is baked into the bread.
No joda.
Yes.
Seriously?
And whoever gets the piece of bread with the doll in it, it says here that has to provide food for the next party, but I thought that it was just like, well, they're lucky and they get the little muñequito. Because that's the whole thing about the Rosca de Reyes. Get the muñequito.
Or they're lucky and they break a tooth.
Exactly. Be like, oh my God, what is this?
Broke a tooth. God wanted it to happen.
Oh, for baby Jesus. Así que it should be a happy moment because it was baby Jesus who broke your tooth. But yeah, no, that's the Rosca de Reyes. I've seen this tradition a lot in Spain, more than Latin America, but I also have seen it in Mexico. So Rosca de Reyes, very fun. Baby Jesus is inside the Rosca de Reyes.
All right, I like that.
Yes.
I had that had sounded really familiar, but I hadn't. I didn't know about the baby Jesus and all that.
Yeah.
It's very interesting.
El muñequito, así le llaman. Okay, so continuing with atole. This one is new.
What is it?
Atole.
Atole.
Yes. This one.
ATOLE.
Yes.
All right.
This one is new. While looking for something different because I didn't want to give you guys all Puerto Ricans. I know that you guys are familiar.
I was crazy with that. Puerto Rican this, Puerto Rican that.
You guys are familiar already with the Puerto Rican's tradition I feel because it's one of the biggest Latino groups in the United States.
Pernil y ponqué.
No es ponqué, es pasteles.
Pernil ponqué and Heineken.
Oh my God. Es medalla. It's not Heineken.
In the Bronx, it's Heineken. Or Coors Light.
Coors Light.
All right, okay.
Okay, atole is a thick, rich porridge like drink and is
Porridge is like parecido como la avena. Like oatmeal.
Okay.
It's kind of like that. Como
That is thick.
Grainy, but
Yeah.
pero like milky, grainy.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's a drink that is traditional holiday staple in Mexico and is served for breakfast or with lunch or dinner. It is satisfying and filling. It is sweetness with brown sugar, cinnamon,
Oh, that's good.
and topped with
Oatmeal.
fruit.
Sounds like oatmeal.
So it's like a
Like an
special
oatmeal,
oatmeal for
Yeah.
Christmas.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I can get down with that.
Yeah, that's cool.
I like that better than the baby Jesus in the.
And then
I don't like tricks.
No?
No, I don't like tricks.
Ah,
Don't be putting baby Jesus in the oatmeal either.
but that would be cool.
No,
Yeah, because it's like
it's like
surprise, I was born.
no, it's like
Surprise, I'm here.
it's like
I was born
it's
today.
like let's sit down and eat and let's just watch who chokes on a baby Jesus and then we're gonna be like you found it. Invite the gringo down.
And everybody knows where the muñequito is,
Yeah, and
and
we're
they're
just looking at him.
intentionally don't take in that
Yeah.
little piece, and you're gonna give it to him. Wow, that's messed up. Okay, so let's continue with rompope.
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 Rompope. All right.
It says
what is that?
it's also from Mexico. It's a thick froth.
Frothy.
It's a thick,
Frothy.
frothy drink similar to eggnog.
Yep. Eggnog.
It is flavored with rum and cinnamon and
Okay.
uses almond to thicken it. So it's basically like a Mexican coquito because it says that it uses almond. So instead of coconut, almond to make it thick,
Yeah.
and it's like eggnog. And they also put rum on it. So that's what it is, rompope. I think that we should go to a Mexican restaurant
And order
these holidays
rompope.
and order a rompope to see if they're really traditionally Mexican. And then we'll be like, oh, do you serve rompope? And they'll be like, how do you know about that?
All right. All right, let's do it. We'll find out. They're going to be
Okay.
like, do you want an Irish coffee instead?
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. So that was rompope. Then we have pernil to break out the sweetness with something savory.
Let me ask you this.
Yes.
Christmas,
Yes.
Thanksgiving, your birthday,
What?
quinceañera,
Yes.
Mother's Day,
Yes.
freaking anniversary, everything has pernil. So how is it a special Christmas thing, pernil? Every event in Puerto Rico has pernil.
Not every.
Every
event.
event in Puerto Rico has pernil. Quinceañeras. Let me repeat. Anniversary.
Let me go over the list again.
Quinceañera. Graduations.
It's like el arroz con gandules.
Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Christmas. Halloween.
Seriously.
Valentine's Day. Everything has pernil.
Now you
You know it damn
ya te
right,
exageraste,
Carla.
te
You know it damn
exageraste.
right.
Porque no es así.
You know that Valentine's Day.
Lo que pasa es que el pernil
Mother's Day.
is life.
You're gonna tell me that
Pernil is wonderful. Pernil is flavorful.
Are you gonna tell me that on Father's Day
Pernil
and on Mother's
is
Day they
like-
don't have pernil?
Yes. We don't.
Yes, you do. You know you do.
It depends on the household.
Yeah. You know
But I
you
will
do.
say,
pernil
well,
for everything.
for you guys, if you guys don't know what pernil is basically the shoulder of the pig, and
Of the pig, yeah, it's a roast pig. It's a
It
big
is.
old roast pig.
yeah, and it's seasoned 1 day ahead with garlic, pepper, oregano, olive oil, salt, and it's cooked for 5 hours at 400 degrees until el cuerito is crispy.
So the skin
Because
is
that
crispy.
cuerito has to be
Yeah,
nice and
and
crispy.
the pig ears have to be crispy.
Yeah.
See, I would be. I have a hard time with. I know that it's on the list, but I would be more in favor of it being really represented on the list if it had a specific Christmas seasoning or ingredient. Like if it was pernil for Navidad and it had some special thing on it that makes it a Christmas pernil.
Yeah.
Then I would be more like, all right, cool. But because it's just pernil, I don't know, man. You guys just run pernil too much. I'm sorry.
Okay, well, that's what it is. What can I tell you?
All right.
Okay.
There goes everything.
So, yeah, there goes everything. So continuing with my little list, I also have arroz con leche on the list.
All right. And
Arroz
that's
con leche.
Puerto Rican?
Is actually
Universal?
It's Puerto Rican, but I think it's very Latin American.
Yeah.
Because there's different versions of arroz con leche, but I know that in Puerto Rico we do arroz con leche as well, and arroz con dulce. But I know that we have both. So
Okay.
and something that they do in different places.
I'm with it.
So arroz con leche is a wonderfully thick and rich rice pudding flavored with cinnamon and condensed milk. It is served hot and topped with cinnamon and butter.
Okay.
So this version is from Mexico, but there's, like I said, there's different versions, and I think that in Puerto Rico it might be served cold. Don't quote me on that, but
I just did. I just quoted you. I just wrote it down. Carla
Oh,
said,
no.
on this day.
On this day, December, blah, 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 blah. Okay. Well, that's arroz con leche.
All right.
I have the Colombian one. Which one is
The Colombian Christmas holiday treat. I would imagine that you're going to go for a treat because you're not really going to go for a food. Is going to be natilla.
Well, I have that on the list, but it's not that.
Then if it's not natilla, then it is...
I'm not sure you know.
All right, go ahead.
Because you're gonna be, when I say it, you're gonna be like, but that's not Christmas. Like, well, it's listed as a holiday food, so I don't know.
Arequipe con...
No. Buñuelos.
That's all year round for me.
Buñuelos
That's all year round for us. We have buñuelos all the time. Buñuelos, go ahead.
are a fried dough ball. And these balls are made with queso costeño, or cheese from the coast.
From the coast, yes.
From the coast. Which is saltier than the usual queso fresco.
Okay.
And then they're deep fried, and that's buñuelos.
I'm surprised that I've heard before it mentioned as a Christmas food, but I'm always surprised that it is. It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I think...
Because you see it all year round in the bakery, so I don't see how
on
it's
the
at
list
Christmas.
they'll say that there was one that it was listed that they were serving it with wine, and I don't know what, and another one that it was maybe like an appetizer between foods, and when people were drinking guaro, they were eating buñuelos as well.
Okay.
So that's how it was listed. Another holiday dish.
Okay.
This one comes from Honduras, and it's called torrejas.
Shout out to my people in Honduras.
Yes. And torrejas are traditional Honduran dessert that are similar to French toast and made with pinole roasted fresh corn kernels.
Kernels?
Kernels.
Okay.
Kernels, yes. So those are torrejas. They're traditional also for Christmas. And they're like French toasts, which that's interesting. And I would like to taste them. Maybe I'll make them one time or whatever. I'll look up the recipe.
Okay.
And the last one I have is, yes, natilla. But natilla, it says that is a term in Spanish for a variety of custards, which is true because I've heard of natilla in Puerto Rico, but made out of coconut. And
Okay.
there's different ones like coconut, milk, vanilla.
So natilla is like a custard.
Yeah, it's
I never liked it.
Me neither.
I don't know. I've tried it. I've tried it out of peer pressure, out of Colombian peer pressure. I've tried it, but I never liked it too much. No.
Yeah. Well, that was my list of
What? That was
holiday.
it? Oh my goodness, Carla.
holiday dishes.
No,
What do you?
no gingerbread cookies. No.
No, that's
No?
American.
What? Come on, it's Christmas, Carla. It's Christmas.
Oh my God,
time
this is
here.
every time it's Christmas is this song. This is the
Chipmunk
song
song.
that comes in.
All right, I would say for me.
I mean, there's many other dishes, but this is just a small.
I think you nailed it. I think the pernil. I know I'm teasing you about the pernil, but yeah, pernil is always a thing in Puerto Rican.
But the thing is that I've learned that not only
and coquito, obviously
Coquito,
like
yeah.
coquito is like the minute Thanksgiving comes, people are already talking
Yeah.
about making coquito and selling coquito and I'm sorry everybody out there, but all your coquito tastes the same. I mean,
seriously.
you're all using the same ingredients, so it's like
Pues I'm not gonna make mine this year.
Oh,
no
my God.
coquitos in this house.
not yours, baby. Yours tastes different. Yours is
Oh,
special.
okay.
You put that special ingredient in.
Yes.
It's better.
Okay.
No, but coquito is coquito. It's like, it's good. It's nice. It's filling though. Like
Yeah.
you make a bottle and that's more than
than
enough,
enough.
but then you have to buy the supplies to make a bottle and you end up making 3 bottles because you
It's too much.
and then you end up drinking
Coquito for 3 months.
3 months.
No,
and
you
putting
gotta
on
give
those
it
extra
away.
pounds. Yeah.
Because definitely when you make coquito, it's so thick that you don't want to have 3 bottles of coquito in your house. I mean, unless you like it, but really it's too much.
It's not good for you.
No,
that
it's
much
not
of
good
it is
for
not
you.
good. And it's not even the alcohol, it's just the condensed milk or
Yeah,
whatever it is.
yeah. And any type of rice, like rice with beans, like all together.
Yeah.
In Latino households is like a most for the holidays as well.
My own little personal treat for the holidays, I would say, is alcohol based. I would say is like the Kahlua with milk and stuff like that. Like
Yeah.
a little something, not so much eggnog, but like something around that lines. Like I do when it gets cold out and it's wintertime, I do get the inspiration and
Yeah.
fix myself up a couple of those. But that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
All right, guys. So if you guys have any suggestions for Christmas foods, please
Oh yes,
chime
let
in
us
on
know because
Instagram.
I would love to taste everything.
You wanted me to teach you, right? This is street reality.
Hablando español, Carla.
Okay, hablando español.
Vamos a hablar español.
Yes,
Do you
I
have some
guess.
Spanish words for me? Are you gonna teach me some
yes,
Spanish?
Of course.
Okay, first word, coquito.
Coquito. Coquito, ¿cómo se dice en inglés?
Coquito. All right, what do you got for me?
Okay, how do you say transit?
Transit. Transito. I
Yes.
drew a blank for a second. Transito.
How do you say public transportation?
Public transportation is I'm gonna just literally translate it to Transportación Pública
Yes, that's how
or
it
Público.
is. No, Transportación Pública. Yeah.
Pública. Wow.
Yes.
Okay. Got it. Nailed it.
How do you say
Yes.
bus?
Boss. Jefe.
No,
Boss. Oh, bus.
bus.
How do you say bus?
Bus.
Autobus.
Yes, that's a great. Yeah.
Well, there's no other way to say it. Except in
Guagua.
Puerto Rico. Exactly. This is a trigger word. This is a trigger word for Puerto Ricans.
La guagua, nene.
So how do you guys say bus in Puerto Rico?
Guagua.
Guagua.
And actually,
I would love to know where that came from.
I'm
love
not
to know
sure
where guagua
if
came
it's
from.
in Peru or in Chile, but guagua means kid.
Yeah, I'm sure. It doesn't mean bus. I don't know where you guys came from.
Okay, how do you say tono?
Anyway, bus is autobus. So
Okay.
everybody get with it.
That's great.
Or bus.
Yeah, bus. How do you say tono?
Tunnel, túnel.
Great. How do you say train?
Train, tren.
perfect. How do you say
Yes.
station?
Station. That's an interesting word because station, I think I've come across issues with that word because. So station is estación,
Yes.
but you can also say like stop, parada.
Yes.
Like people mix these words up a little bit.
Yeah. That's true.
Depending what you're referring to. So
I think that what I've learned is that I use more station for the train station, but stop, la parada for a bus.
for
when I'm
buses,
taking-
I could see
yeah.
that. I could see that. But then station, estación, and then radio station.
Right.
That,
La estación de radio.
yeah, like that kind of throws people off a little bit when they're translating,
Yeah.
English to Spanish and trying to find an exact translation.
Yeah.
I feel like there's another word for station, for train station, that is not estación. Kind of like terminal, or kind of like it's a word that has more to do with the.
But terminal is just more for airport.
I understood, but like you could say, Grand Central Terminal.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I think that's an old-fashioned expression.
Maybe,
That
yeah.
is. There's another word, is what I'm saying. That station. I know that we're saying station, but I feel like there's another word in Spanish for that. But for now, station, estación.
Okay.
Dale.
Do you have any words for me?
And do I have any words? Do I have any words for you?
Yes.
Of course. We're talking about Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go real simple and basic. How do you say Christmas tree?
Árbol de Navidad.
So, árbol
Árbol
de
de Navidad.
Navidad is Christmas.
Christmas tree.
Okay, so Christmas tree is tree of Christmas. Árbol de Navidad. How do you say, and I know there's a word for it, how do you say the nativity scene? I know there's one word for it.
Pesebre.
Why is that? I never understood how does nativity scene becomes pesebre, or maybe it's just nativity for short.
Well,
What
if
is-
you
what
wanna get the
What is literally
literal
pesebre?
translation of nativity scene will be escena de la natividad.
Right. But so what is pesebre?
Pesebre is actually the place where the baby Jesus lies on. Pesebre is like,
The manger?
I think it's that, but also
It might be the manger.
the whole scene of the stable and them being
is-
in a place that is for animals.
It's a stable.
That's a
It's a stable.
pesebre.
Okay, so then it's more about the location. Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right, thank you, Carla. You taught me a lot. I feel more Spanish.
That's great.
All right, another episode in the bag.
That's right.
New mics,
New mics, new us.
new studio, new studio.
New studio, new mics, new us.
See that? All right, you guys. Next episode will be episode 60, and we will be talking about one more museum, I think, and then I
Yeah.
might have to move on.
Se acabaron los museos.
Se acabaron los museos. I think it'll be one more museum. And Carla,
Bueno.
what are we talking about in Culture Talk? Do you know?
We might review a movie.
Yes. Stay tuned, guys.